Hey everyone, it's Oz, welcome. Today I'll be talking about one of the most iconic characters in Genshin Impact, Hu Tao. With her release in 1.3, the director of Wangxiang Funeral Parlor instantly captured hearts of many, and to this day people adore her, and if you're browsing social media it's not uncommon to see new art of her pop up every now and then. I myself remember when her first banner came out because it was actually only a couple days after I started playing the game, and was watching a certain streamer pull for Hu Tao, and I really liked her design and those beautiful pyro attacks. So I decided I wanted her too, and thus started farming Primogems. But to no avail, as I haven't even managed to reach the PT before the banner ended. I was thinking maybe I should spend those $100 for her, but in the spark of genius, also known as common sense, I decided not to waste that much money on a waifu in a video game. And so I was left without Hu Tao, but of course I got her during her rerun, 8 months after her original release. Elated by finally getting this long-awaited character, I immediately triple crowned her and used her for 2 months, after which I benched her and went back to using Emiya. However, as she's getting another rerun, I decided to give her a try, and not without a reason. As popular as Hu Tao is, I've noticed that a lot of people say that they dislike her playstyle or even regret pulling for her, and so I'm gonna play with her a bit, talk about her kit, gearing, pros and cons, and give my totally unbiased thoughts on her. So, Hu Tao, she's a 5-star Pyro Polearm user with a main role being a single target DPS focused around vaporizing her charged attacks. By themselves, her normal attacks don't do that much, but thanks to her skill they can dish out pretty nice damage. The aforementioned skill consumes 30% of Hu Tao's current HP to infuse her normal and charged attacks with Pyro and boost her attack by a portion of her max HP, which makes it so that she scales better with HP than with attack. It also makes her charged attacks apply a small damage over time effect to the enemies for 8 seconds. Normal attack talent and the skill talent are the bread and butter of Hu Tao's kit. Usually you will do N2C and cancel combos with her, but you can also do N1C and cancel, or you might even avoid cancelling to save up stamina. This will result in slightly lower DPS, but will let you get to other enemies more easily. Whether you will cancel with jump or dash will depend on your constellations, as C1 heavily impacts her gameplay by removing stamina cost of charged attacks, but later about that in constellation section. Most of Hu Tao's damage will generally come from her charged attacks, which you can always vaporize given that the enemies has Hydra Aura on them, thanks to their lack of ICD. If it comes to Hu Tao's burst, basically Hu Tao whips out her ghost and smashes everything around her with it, dealing massive damage and regenerating some HP to herself per enemy hit. The damage and healing of the burst is increased when Hu Tao's HP is low. The burst is a really nice option to deal huge AoE damage, it is also great in single target though, but you gotta be careful with it not to regenerate too much HP, as Hu Tao prefers to stay below 50% HP at all times because of her passives. The burst costs 60 energy and has 15 seconds cooldown. Oh, and also I prefer using it just as the skill is about to end, so I don't waste the duration of the skill on burst's animation. And as for the passives, the first one makes Hu Tao increase crit rate of party members by 12% for 8 seconds when her skill ends, which is a pretty solid team buff, and the second one gives Hu Tao 33% pyro damage bonus when she's below 50% health. This is why you'd rather run her with a shielder than a healer, and also why you'll usually burst every second rotation rather than burst with each rotation. Alright, now that I summarized her kit, let's go over her gearing, starting off with the weapons. Hu Tao actually has quite a lot of decent options, with her beast being of course her signature weapon, Staff of Homa. Not only does it provide crit damage and HP percent bonus, it also gives attack bonus based on wielder's max HP, which is further increased when the wielder is below 50% health, making it a perfect weapon for Hu Tao. If for some reason you have Staff of Scarlet Suns and not Homa, you can use that, as it is also a pretty great option, and if not, you can use Dragon's Bane, which in my humble opinion is the best looking weapon on Hu Tao. Battle Pass weapons, if you have them, Ballad of the Fjords is particularly good with refinements, if you have at least 3 elements in your team. If you don't have any of those, you can use Primordial Jadewing's Spear, Lithic Spear, Missive Wind Spear from 2.1 event, or White Tassel from Liyue chests. If you don't have any of those, then I don't know, use Black Tassel or something and wait for Dragon's Bane from Standard Banner. Artifacts. Alright, this one is simple. Hu Tao basically has like 3 sets that she can use. Usually her best set will be 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames. While she can't fully utilize its passive, it's still a great option. You can also use 4-piece Shimenawa, which is very similar damage wise, but know that it drains your energy when using your skill, so you'll have harder time getting the burst up. And finally you can use Gilded Dreams, which is slightly worse than the 2 mentioned sets, but still a great option. If you don't have a full 4-piece of those sets, you can use a combination of Crimson Witch 2-piece with a 2-piece EM or HP set, or just any combination of EM HP sets if you don't even have 2-piece Crimson. As for the main stats, on Sands you'll want either Elemental Mastery or HP, generally both are good. On Goblet you'll want Pyro damage, and on Hat you'll want, of course, Crit. And as for the substats, you'll generally want enough to have like 150 to 300 Elemental Mastery total, then focus on the crits and then on HP. Okay, Constellations. Hu Tao is a rare character where I wouldn't actually discourage from going for a Constellation, if you're really dedicated to her and of course have means to do so, but I won't recommend spending money, so if you want it, better just skip some banners and save up. Alright, and why am I not going to discourage that? Well, that's because her C1 is one of the most impactful Constellations in the game. It removes stamina cost from her charge attacks, letting you cancel them with dashes, which makes them faster and thus deal more damage in total. It also makes her more comfortable to play, because even with dash cancels you lose less stamina than with C0 and jump cancels. I actually rolled for this Constellation but lost 50-50 and decided to stop wishing further, which I'm very happy about. As for her other cons, then as usual I don't recommend going for them. C2 increases damage of the dot that she applies with her charge attacks, which is alright but nothing too impactful. C3 increases skill talent level, which is the same. C4 gives your party members other than Hu Tao 12% crit rate for 15 seconds when you defeat an enemy with the charge attack dot on it. It can be alright in some AoE fights, but straight up useless in single target. C5 increases her burst level, so only a bit more damage. Then her C6 is quite interesting. If your Hu Tao falls below 25% health or receives a lethal strike, she won't die, but she'll get 100% crit rate and 200% resistance to all elements for 10 seconds. This effect can occur every 60 seconds. It's a pretty neat Constellation that allows you to build Hu Tao for massive crit damage without getting any crit rate stats, but it's pretty hard to trigger in Abyss. You basically have to let the enemies beat Hu Tao to between 25 and 35% health, then set up other characters, and then go back to Hu Tao and use her E. It also lasts only 10 seconds and has 60-second cooldown, so if you run out of the effect you're pretty much screwed, because you probably have like 0 crit rate. So ultimately what this Constellation is good at is getting huge numbers on overpowered bosses, which, you know, is it worth spending about $1,000 for? Teams. Hu Tao has a large variety of different teams that you can use her with, such as Hu Tao Zhongli Xingqiu Yelan, or Hu Tao Zhongli Xingqiu Fischl, or Hu Tao Zhongli Xingqiu Albedo. As you can see, she offers a great many choices in how you can play her. Okay, I'm kinda kidding, but not really. Most Hu Tao teams want to have Xingqiu, a shielder, and a 4th unit that can synergize with the team. If it comes to the shielder, Zhongli is the best option in general. His shield is massive and lasts a long time, so you won't have to worry about your Hu Tao dying too much. But you can also use Layla or Toma. Toma can steal some of your vaporizes, but he will also enable you to use an anemo unit such as Kazuha or Sucrose for VV set, so that's pretty neat. If it comes to Xingqiu, you generally want to use Xingqiu. Yeah, he applies a lot of Hydro, letting your Hu Tao vaporize every charge attack, so he's very important. And as for the 4th member, you can use Yelan, creating double Hydro team, which is pretty much the best Hu Tao team. While Yelan is amazing before C2, she doesn't apply enough Hydro to let Hu Tao vape consistently, which is why you want to use her with Xingqiu and not instead of Xingqiu. If you don't have Yelan, you can use Fischl or Albedo. If you're using Layla as Hu Tao's shielder, you can also put someone like Kaya or Rosaria on the team, create a meld team, but it's generally weaker than the variants mentioned before. And finally, you can use your Hu Tao in monopyro teams with Kazuha, Bennett and Xiangling, but it's worse than vape, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. Hu Tao is not made for monopyro, or for Bennett. Alright, we went over her kit and gearing, so let's talk some pros and cons and my general thoughts on her. Starting off with the pros, Hu Tao to this day continues to be one of the best single target DPSs in the game. She can dish out absolutely massive damage with her charge attacks. They're also not purely single target, unlike Yoimiya, who will always hit one enemy with her attacks. If the enemies are lined up or close together, you can hit more than one with Hu Tao's charge attacks. And of course we have her burst, which will deal great damage in AoE, so while she's generally a single target DPS, she's not purely a single target DPS, and can deal more damage in AoE fights. Apart from that, we have of course her beautiful animations. I mean, come on, her attacks are some of the prettiest in the game. As for Hu Tao's cons, they're mostly very subjective. First one is that especially at C0 she uses a lot of stamina, which means if the enemies are spread out you might have problems with executing her rotation. And as for the other ones, it's mostly gameplay stuff. Her playstyle is generally hit or miss. I see a lot of people benching Hu Tao because they either don't like her charge attack cancelling gameplay or they dislike the HP management aspect of her kit. You can skip those parts of her kit somewhat and, for example, not do cancels on her attacks or keep her above 50% health if possible, but you will not utilize her even close to her full potential if you do so. But if you enjoy playing her that way, go ahead. It's not like you have to try hard in the overworld, but generally I just recommend playing around with her a bit in the test run before pulling for her. See if you enjoy her combos, see if you like her with jump cancels, with dash cancels and stuff like that. I personally don't enjoy her that much. I don't really mind the HP stuff in the Abyss, but I feel like the lag between her normal attacks and charge attack is a bit too long, so it feels kinda sluggish to me. Add the jump cancels to that and she just feels really slow to play. Also, I just like Yoimiya more, she's my favorite character and they do fulfill kinda the same role, so of course I'm gonna play her instead of Hu Tao. In conclusion, Hu Tao is great, deals massive damage, but her gameplay can be divisive. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it, so before you pull for her, go test her out a bit. Also, I know a lot of people say C1 is a must, and even I said I wouldn't discourage from going for it, but also don't feel forced to get it. While it's great, it's far from necessary and Hu Tao will be really strong even without it, so if you enjoy going for more characters, you really don't have to get that C1. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings. Let me know in the comments what your opinions are on Hu Tao. Are you rolling for her in this upcoming rerun? Or maybe if you have her, you can share your thoughts and experiences with her. Anyway, thanks for watching, have a great day, and see ya!